Welcome to The Real Life Buyer. Whether you are buying for yourself or your business, here you will find tips, techniques and knowledge to support your journey to buying smart. Interviewing business owners and technical experts to give you information and guidance before parting with your money. Save money, time and get what you want when you want it. Now introducing The Real Life Buyer, Dave Barr.
Hello and welcome to The Real Life Buyer. Today, I'm extremely pleased to introduce you to Steve Willis, Managing Director and Dealer Principal of Sykes Harley-Davidson. I've been a keen motorcyclist for a scary 37 years now, having started my motorcycling journey on an old Kawasaki Trials bike, riding 20 miles to and from work every day. Since then, I have enjoyed other motorcycles in my stable, including Suzuki, Triumph and KTM. However, some 10 years ago, after taking a shine to the Harley stand at the NEC, I stumbled into a dealership near Silverstone. I immediately fell in love with a custom Fat Bob, took it for a spin and bought it. I still have this bike today and have no plans to part with it anytime soon. So, without further ado, I welcome Steve to the show to discuss the purchasing considerations when looking to invest in this icon of a motorcycle brand. Hello, Steve.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm good, thank you. It's brilliant that you're on board now, and we've got our technical things out of the way. Excellent.
Yeah, nice to be on your podcast, and I hope I can help the listeners understand our brand Harley-Davidson, and welcome new riders into it.
Absolutely, that's right. Well, let's get stuck in then. Perhaps you could spend a few minutes telling the listeners about yourself, your riding history, and your journey to becoming the dealer principal of Sykes Harley-Davidson.
Okay. Well, my journey is probably quite different to a lot of people in my position in the motorcycle industry. I mean, I've got a technical background in car mechanics. I was a mechanic in a family business in Eastbourne for 16 years. So direct from school, I joined my father and grandfather. So we had 3 generations of us working together. And we had a nice family business. It was in a back street in Eastbourne. We served petrol, pumped gas to people and looked after MOTs and repairs. And it was a very community kind of styled business. I wasn't really the guy who was the best mechanic. I could do the job, but it wasn't in my heart. And, I couldn't see a future doing that. My father, who was running the business, was ill for quite a period of time. And I took the reins of the garage, which led me to be more confident and aware of what I wanted to do in the future. And it was manage and look after people and try and do the best we could. And being a backstreet garage, I always wanted to deliver excellence. So yeah, we were charging less labor than a dealer. We didn't have the facilities as such as a dealer, but I wanted to always deliver a dealer standard. I don't know where it came from. I just believe that everything should be correct. Every service should be done correctly, not just wiping an oily rag over things. It needed to be done by the book. And my sort of influence at a young age rubbed off a bit, and we had back then a little mini Metro as a courtesy car, and you didn't have courtesy cars for independent garages back then, but it was quite cool and quirky, and it was used well, and it gained attention, and managing the place and customers' expectations was quite natural to me as well. But when my father returned, it was a case of, okay, I'm the boss, we don't need 2 bosses. So I went back onto the tools, and my ability to connect with people was one of my gift is a strong word, but one of my personal advantages, I guess. And I had a lot of customers who'd come to us because we got on and I listened and we do the job properly. So I then knew that staying in mechanics wasn't for me. So I looked at leaving the family businesses, which was, to be honest, quite a difficult choice, and in my own thoughts, quite a brave one, because you've always, when you work for a family, you've got that sort of comfort blanket, if you like.
Yeah.
And I'd been there since child to man. So I looked in being in the sales area of the motor trade. So I went for a couple of interviews. I think one was with Mercedes, and from a mechanic trying to get into the sales role in a big dealership, I was kind of laughed at in a way. And I remember the interview, and it was quite harsh. And I was with the DP at the time of the Mercedes dealership and the sales manager, and it was a test and a massive eye-opening experience. But back then, I had served a guy who had the machinery business, which was John Shaw Machinery, and he offered me a job at running the service side of the business. So we were looking after grounds care equipment. It was a brand called Toro, which was a rival to John Deere. So I was running that business, and we were looking after service contracts for Crawley, for Wentworth, for Sunningdale, for all the sort of top level grass and turf specialists. So from cutting the lawns next to the road to cutting the lawns at at Wimbledon, we were the ones who looked after the equipment, looked after service contracts, and so I ran that for 3 years, and we had a team, contract servicing, guys going out, a very, very keen at looking after people again, because you're looking after superintendents of high-end golf courses and greenskeepers who expect the best. So it was good to learn this and take this on board, because the company took on Harley-Davidson, and Harley-Davidson was looking at the time for someone in our area, and it was a perfect timing because we had some business meetings, the directors and Harley-Davidson at the time, and they took on the brand. It worked well on area. It worked well on the where we are at Holmes Hill. So in months, really, we also were going to run Harley-Davidson. Now with Harley-Davidson and the greens area of the business, we thought it would run, and we thought we'd do a few motorcycles, and it would add to the pot, and it would all work out really well. But in a very short space of time, the motorcycle sales grew rapidly. The popularity of the new dealership grew beyond our expectations, and John Shaw looked at where we were and where the business would go forward, and looked at selling the business to the two directors at the time. So they took the John Shaw business of machinery to another location, and the site began and came Shaw Harley-Davidson. So the complete site, which is a 2-acre site, a really nice site that we've got here. Then I basically, I guess we spoke the other day, really created my own value. So I found that I was connected with people from the service level, but not only that, but into the showroom as well. And it was a natural progression. And as time went by, we found another service manager, and I ran as like showroom manager or general manager, and then sales manager and sales director, and then I've become manager director in 2018, late 2017, sorry, when John and Denise Sykes brought Shaw Harley-Davidson from John Shaw. John Shaw retired, 78 years of age, and John Sykes, independent businessman, came along, very passionate about the Harley-Davidson brand, very passionate about petrol in all shapes and sizes, and bought the business, and that's where we are today. So his investment into Shaw Harley-Davidson led it to change to Sykes, and here we are today, sitting on a very successful business. We've been operating now for 18 years, and got a good reputation. Obviously, never sort of rest on that. There's always things to improve and always things to do. But it's been a good journey, and I think the layers of where you've been and where you are now all help into understanding people, business, and best practices, I think.
Brilliant. That's really interesting. It's an interesting transgression. Thanks for that. So if we looked at the current range of Harley models. Would you mind giving a sort of very brief overview of those models, the kind of retail prices there are at the moment, and what you think your expectations will be for retail prices in 2021?
Okay. There's some big changes that are happening with Harley-Davidson, and changes through the model and the model family. The Sportster, that's been around since 1957 and a very iconic bike, is being discontinued for the range for 2021. Now there might be some 2020 models going into 21, but there won't be new models produced, which is a big blow really, because it's such a iconic motorcycle. It's a very customizable motorcycle. The Sportster came in, and we're talking in the early £8,000 area of price, and onto 10,000 for the 1200. But these bikes have been, like I say, very customizable. They bring in a younger, I think, group of people. They're a bike for everyone. They're a bike that's sometimes a stepping stone for the bigger V-twin engine, but a lot of times they're a keeper, and people just personalize them and keep them for. I know people who've still got 2003 models that I sold them way back then. So that's a big change, and Harley Davidson are now looking at the families being reduced. So they will now have the Softail family, which changed in 2017 and went on to the Milwaukee 8 engine and new chassis. So the Softail changed then, which was a massive step for Harley and a really positive one, because when they changed the Softail, and when we say Softail, we're talking like Fat Boys, Heritages, Deluxes, and so on. When they changed the platform, which is the frame to a monoshock suspension frame, and the engine to a Milwaukee 8 engine that started at like 1750cc and went on to 1850 plus, it was something that really boosted sales in many ways. The bike was 2 stone lighter than the previous twin cam model. It was, I guess, more technically in advanced, and the power train from the engine and transmission was smooth, and it was just a winner if someone was a bit tired of their previous model and wanted change, rather than just changing for a bigger cubic capacity twin cam to a completely new engine. It had that wow factor. So that's been that was a real boost and a real positive step forward for Harley Davidson. So the Softail family will now start with the Softail Standard. So the Softail Standard is a very sort of bobber style bike, 21-inch front wheel, 16-inch rear. It starts with the 107 cubic inch engine and has the small ape hangers and that really clean basic look. That starts at under 12,000. Looking at price range, it may go up slightly. I'd probably guess a few percent, if anything, for the 2021 range. Then you've got models in the Softail range like the Sport Glide, which is a very popular model indeed. Small fairing on the front, upside down forks, cast wheels, a real usable sort of crossover tourer, so not too big, And then you've got things like the Street Bob, which again is a bobber, more blacked out in style, very similar to the Softail standards. So I should go back to the Sport Glides around the 15,000 mark, color dependent. Street Bob in the 12s, again, depending on what color choice you have. Then you've got the Fat Bob, which is a bike that was originally a Dyna in name. So Harley Davidson did some changes, but kept some names. I don't know if they just want to test your technical knowledge or make sure that the service writer is picking up on the right points. So you could have a 2017 Fat Bob, Dyna, or Softail. So completely different models, but same name. So the Dyna and the Street Bob went over into the new Softail family. So the Fat Bob is the one that people will recognize from a very square and elongated LED front light. It's like chopped right off, upside down forks, twin brake rotors at the front, cast wheels again, and a very tank looking bike. It looks like a tank. It looks heavyweight, but it's one of the best handling bikes in the range. It's an amazing bike. You have a sports bike rider who's always wanted a Harley but not ready for the complete nostalgic look of a Heritage or a Fat Boy perhaps, then a Fat Bob will tick the boxes, because it is a hooligan's machine. It will make someone smile and grin. It will make them pull the throttle back slightly more, I guess, because it's the style. You're sitting upright, you've got a good view of the road ahead, and I think you ride more progressively on something styled like that. And then we got the classics like the Heritage, which has been around forever. I would think early 90s from the Evo. That's a very classic looking bike, more blacked out as it was originally now. The 2020 model, blacked out forks, blacked out engine, giving it a very retro feel, but a simple look. I'm not sure yet if they're bringing back chrome on it in 2021. We're yet to find out, and we probably will find out properly in January 21, when they're talking about doing a virtual launch of the new models. The Fat Boy, again, is a Softail. The Fat Boy is one of my favorites. The Fat Boy's been around forever, with the original Ghost, which was a silver bike with the yellow highlights for instance, in the top of the engine, all the way through to the 30th anniversary that they did this year, which was a full blacked out gold badged representation of the bike. The Fat Boy had many changes, and it's totally changed its stance, but kept its silhouette. So with a shadow of the bike on a white background, you would recognize it's a Fat Boy. But when the lights hit it, it's a Fat Boy, but it's got this prototype feel about it. The 16-inch wheels, or should I say 17s, when they moved up into the 16-inch wheels originally, like the Terminator's bike, have now gone to 18s. So 2-inch bigger rims. And not only that, you've got from a 150 mil rear tire, you've gone to a 240 mil rear tire. And the front tire now is bigger than the original rear tire. So the Fat Boy has a 160 front tire, which is huge. 1.25-inch handlebars, a locomotive style headlight. So again, a chopped headlight. It's gone from the big sort of domey headlight into this chopped satin chrome front end, and they keep the satin chrome throughout the bike. It is a stunning bike to look at, and it is truly the iconic bike as well. The Fat Boy to Harleys is like Big Mac to McDonald's. You don't have to say the latter, you say the first, and everyone know what you're talking about. The Deluxe, which is a very nostalgic bike, very similar to the Heritage, came in a single seat, kind of like Cadillac style indicator lights on the later models. Looks like it's being dropped for 2021. When I say dropped, a lot of times Harley seem to give a model a rest and then bring it back on. We've seen it before, like the Softail Standard that's come back in 2020 was around in 2002 to probably 2006 or something like that, off the top of my head. It had a rest, it's come back. There are models that they've done that before with, and it's interesting. I doubt if they're bringing things like the Springers back, which are my favorites as well, like the Crossbones and the standard FL Springer, because of the ABS issues and stuff like that with that floating sort of engineered front end. There's a good mix of Softails. So there's a bike for all, and then you go into the touring range as well. So you've got the big baggers, as they're called in the States. You've got the hard boxes on the back. You can have the fairings on the front or the screens on the front. So we're talking the classic Road King. We're talking about the Road King specials. We're talking about Street Glides and Street Glide specials, Ultras and Road Glides. So these bikes are the mile munching bikes. They've got the luggage capacity, they've got the comfort, but the Softail saying that will do the 500-mile ride if you want a day. They've got the comfort there, but these ones are to accommodate all your gear with it as well. Infotainment systems, as in Bluetooth connectivity with sat nav and Spotify and Apple Play. They've got all the gear going on. Cruise control. Fantastic bike to ride. I was lucky enough to ride in 2018 from LA to Milwaukee for the 115th anniversary, and I was lucky to have a road glide, which is a little bit of a Marmite bike. It's got a very square double headlight in the front and a huge fairing, and the fairing sits static with the bike, so the bars move but the fairing doesn't, unlike the street glide. And that never plays on my mind, but people always pick up on that. But that bike is an amazing, probably one of my favorite tours, because of the size, because of cubby holes, because you can ride it progressively. The handlebar style, which pull back towards you, big 1.25 inch again, allow you to ride in a very relaxed cruisy position, or when you're going around some twisties, be it the Stelvio Pass or be it along some beautiful coast road, you can, and it sits nicely and it handles really well. So the tourers will always hold their own, and I think obviously still the biggest sellers in the USA. You go to a big meet like in Milwaukee when they had the 115th anniversary, you cannot believe the rows and rows and rows of tourers. Not so much here. I think here it's a sort of third generation bike. I think people come in, dip their toe with a Sportster or a Dyna, a Softail, and then they will find out, they're going to Portugal, they're going to the south of France, they're going on a ride with some mates, and they will organically evolve to having a touring bike. Comfort for pillion, comfort for rider, and with, like I say, everything that you need to accomplish these destinations. So I could go on. Where do I stop?
Yeah, that's right. Think about the pricing. How much the retail prices are they for the Fat Bob and the Fat Boy, and where'd they start? I know there's no finish.
Obviously with customization, there is no finish, only the bank account being broken. You're talking, like I said, with the Softails, you're getting into the market at just under 12,000, and talking about the Heritage and the Fat Boy, you're talking sort of 19,000 with the 114 engines, just north of that. And then going into the touring market, you're going to around the 22 plus. You can go all the way up to a CVO model in the tours, which is called custom vehicle operations. So this is like the top spec, like they do this sort of thing with Range Rovers as well. It's the ultimate. So not only do you get, like for this year, for instance, 117 cubic inch engine, you get the custom paint, you get the options of chrome or black engine cases, you get all the billet equipment. When I say billet, it's like aircraft machined foot peg shifters, and all the top end stuff that Harley-Davidson do from their own catalogue. And these bikes go to 34,000 pounds. Very limited though. So as a dealer, we might be lucky to have 3 of each. And there's kind of like, we'd probably be lucky to have 6 CVOs in the year. So normally there's customers' orders only, and then they pull them down from the factory in that customer's name. Or if they do land in the UK, then you might get one on display terms, so you can offer it to your customer base. But they are the best of the best. We do our own thing as well with the custom shop. We do something called SSO, which is Sykes Special Operations. So if anyone wants a custom bike but they want to keep it Harley-Davidson, then we offer that. So it might be a Fat Boy, totally accessorized with a 117 engine, custom paint, painted wheels, whatever the customer wants, we can do that. Special program. I think they do things like that with TaylorMade. I think it's called with Ferrari. Rolls-Royce obviously have always done bespoke stuff. And then we have Speed and Custom, which has been around since 2010 for us, which was a brand in a brand, Speed and Custom is our custom house, which is located at the same Holmes Hill, and we do bespoke bikes from sort of the frame upwards if necessary. But we always use Harley-Davidson. We don't do hardtails. We don't buy in aftermarket frames. We use the original frame and geometry. We might change front ends. We might take all the running gear off, engine out, everything, and repaint the frame and build it upwards. I mean, we've done some nice bikes. We've done some bikes for obviously high-end customers. We built a couple of bikes for Grayson Perry, the artist, and big man in that area that he's recently used on the television as well, which is quite nice to see. So we are in a nice place of being an independent dealer who can offer what people's expectations are, and that's custom. I mean, you walk into a Harley-Davidson showroom and you expect to be able to personalize your bike, be it from the get-go or down the line once you know where you are.
Yeah. Just interested in the new stock. So is the new stock you receive something that you've ordered yourself, you've selected, or is it pushed out from the factory and you take what you get? How does that work?
I think things are changing for 21, and I think we'll be allocated our showroom and demo bikes by the motor company, because they look like they're sort of reworking the way they do things to provide for their dealer network. In the past, it's been a case of myself, my sales manager, and the team sitting down and looking what's best for us. I mean, obviously, we're used to a certain mix of bikes. If some dealers, especially in the States, would probably choose more Tourers and Softails and Sportsters and so forth. We've always had good stock. We've always tried to choose to have a real good mix. So you can walk in and you can see the Sportsters, the Dyners, the Softails, the Tourers, and understand what is available. So we've always been to cherry pick. We've always been able to cherry pick, really, which has been nice. We're limited to the number of bikes we can have, and we have time frames of payment for the bikes that we have in stock. And once we've sold them, then we're allowed to replenish the stock. But we've always gone out to make sure that someone comes in and understands the whole range, because what we wouldn't want to do is have someone like yourself visit the store, buy a bike, and then find out there's another bike similar that they could have had. We like to put everything out in front and do the best we can to make sure the choice, which we respect, is quite an investment for any individual to make sure they've got the right bike that they want. But saying that, most of the time people come in, they're well educated, they've studied, they've been on the internet, they've watched YouTube, they know they want a Sport Glide or a Fat Boy or Heritage and so on. But again, sometimes it does happen where someone is going to spec up a bike which is going to exceed the price of a bike that's already got it, if you see what I mean. They were just looking at one of the members of the family, as we call it, and they wanted that bike. It happened with things like Fat Boys. You could sell a Fat Boy before it sort of took the steroids and blew up into this huge, muscular American dream, and they would kit out. They would want it to kit out a Fat Boy with passing lights, a screen, pillion seat, some bags, and you say, well, yeah, you should buy a Heritage. Really, do you want the solid wheels? And no, not really fast. Well, the Heritage here is going to save you a few £1,000s on what you're doing. So obviously we're here to do that and be specialists in that field. That's what could happen if you didn't have the bikes in front of you and you didn't have staff, I guess, that were open and willing to give advice, I guess. And we're a non-commission paid dealership as well, so which is unique, I think. And talking to the network and knowing the motor trade, our guys do not get commission on selling more expensive motorcycles. So, which is great. You can focus on what that person wants. It's not going to affect the salesperson's wages if they sell you the £5,000 bike or the £15,000 bike, which is always at the back of people's minds if things are moving forward, because things do move forward. We all go out to buy something and end up with going 2 tiers higher. It does happen. You look for a car, you look for a house, and suddenly you're in an area where you didn't first set out to be. But we all strive to get the best we can, don't we, for our buck?
Yeah, absolutely. So you've got still some influence, but it's going to be a little bit more factory led then in the future.
Yeah, I think by the sounds of it, the factory, I say the factory, Harley-Davidson UK, we work with, obviously, they're the distributor of the Harleys, and they, by the sounds of things, will allocate us a display and demo fleet, which isn't always the best, because you don't know what's going to happen. What you don't want is 15 red bikes in your showroom. I like to have a mix. I like to have the two tones and the blacks and an array of colors, and that's always the danger when someone's just got the job of allocating dealers' bikes, because they're not thinking or seeing the way we are at the retail level. They're just doing a job. That's always a bit of a worry. So we'll have to see how that sort of pans out.
Yeah. And do they handle the logistics? So do you have to look at importing the bikes, or do they just manage the whole process?
Luckily that's all managed. So Harley-Davidson UK manage all the distribution of the bikes. They handle, obviously, the currency, the tax, the customs, everything like that. So it's fairly straightforward for us. If we order a bike, at the moment they come from Belgium. When they've arrived from the States, they go to a Belgium holding depot, and then they're shipped from Belgium to another logistics company, who then bring them on crates to us, and when we uncrate them, and it's just a case of then pre-delivery inspecting them, adding accessories, and going online and registering the bike for the customer. So it keeps things simple that way.
Yeah. Okay. Also, you mentioned it's a significant investment for people. When you get up to 30K, that's some kind of wedge, isn't it? But
it is.
So as you mentioned, it's quite important the person picks the right bike or selects the right bike for their particular style. So would you say, how do your guys go to try and assess the most appropriate bike for that person's style of riding? Because it do vary quite a bit.
They do vary quite a bit. I mean, I guess from myself being active in sales, it's about connecting with the customer and understanding what they're looking for. Understanding will be many things. Understanding will be if it's going to be something that someone wants to go away on, if they want to go touring, if they want to ride as a couple, take a pillion. That compared to someone who just wants to roll around at the weekend, or the person who wants to commute day in, day out, are really strong questions. I think the questions are very important to get out there in the first instance, to understand where to look. Obviously, the understanding as well is budget. So it's no good talking all day about a £30,000 CVO, which is the ultimate tourer, when the customer has got a 10 grand budget. We can then look into what's available on the pre-owned fleet as well. We've got to ask as well if it's new only, or are they looking at used, and then satisfying them, I guess, on what is available, and making sure the bike is the right size for the solo rider or the twin. Seeing how long they've been riding, because obviously that makes a difference with insurance, especially with the younger audience. You could go down a long sort of sales process and then find that it's unaffordable to insure. That can happen with the young generation, but it's not been a big problematic area, to be honest. And then having a look around at what bike is for them. And sometimes I will say to the customer, what you got to do is buy with your heart. You've got to be attracted, like you were, by the sounds of it, to the customized fat bob that you saw.
Yeah.
You got to be attracted. It's got to, I think in this industry, it's more than just a motorcycle. It's however cliche that sounds, you've got to be attracted to it. It's like when you've seen your partner for the first time, you're attracted to go to speak to them and make those bold moves, and then find out if they're compatible. So I think the first step is seeing something that makes you buzz, seeing something that that if you're not riding it, you're proud to own it. I think that's a big key thing, and then seeing if it's capable of doing the job you want it to do.
Yeah.
If it's a if a Sportster is really attracting someone and it's got an 8-litre tank and they want to go to the south of France and they've got all these plans, then as much as they adore it and love it, it's not the right bike. And yeah, I think that's key, and so I think that's a real strong part of the conversation. But yeah, I think the way myself and the team are, it's a relaxed atmosphere. It's not pressure sales driven, because we don't really work hard on targeting our individual salespeople. We're quite happy how the natural flow of people buying bikes has happened over the last 18 years. It's we've never really changed things. We have targets like everyone on with Harley-Davidson and what we do to allow us to be a better dealer and invest more. But we're quite easy on the gas really, and let people find themselves and don't feel under pressure to make snap decisions. And it works, and that can be coming into the store or contacting us from outside the store, because obviously we've always got bikes online. We're quite prominent on the used bike market as well, and we again connect with them and make sure that they're looking at the right thing. But I guess with the people who are searching the internet, it's a different ball game again. Kind of know what they're looking for. It's either that one or that one, and then you can help them with the information, videos, pictures, history, everything that you need to know to help you make a decision confidently as a buyer.
Yeah. You touched on finance, obviously the costs. Are there financing options available from your dealership?
Yeah. I mean, we use we have a finance house. We have the motor company have Harley-Davidson Financial Services. So they're basically Black Horse as well. They're Black Horse services. So this allows us to offer PCP plans, which are the plans when you have a balloon payment at the end. HP, which is directly paying for the bike. Which is an option that we always must make people aware of that we can do. Again, we're not pressure selling on finance. It's just there as a product that's available to help people move forward with a purchase as they wish.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, we've touched on customization. Now, I certainly like engines that perform, shall we say? And there's this reference to stage tuning. Those people who are not Harley owners may not understand stage tuning. Can you explain that for them?
Yeah, it's stage 1, 2, 3, 4. They're all probably stages that people like nod at, but would probably like more information on. I mean, a lot of times, if you were to buy a new bike, you'd probably be keen to have it sounding like the Harley sound, and that's where the stage 1 comes in. Now, stage 1 is basically when you change the pipes. So a lot of people change their exhaust pipes, and you can have slip-on style exhaust that just change the end cans, if you like, of the bike and keep the headers or manifold original, which will enhance the noise. Or some people change the whole system, which you'll see shorter versions, longer versions, twin, dual versions of pipes that give out quite a loud tone, which you'll recognize as a Harley-Davidson. To complement the stage 1 pipes and to have a complete stage 1, people also change the air breather, because obviously when they come into the country, the emissions are restricted so they can legally get through all the checks, and the breathers are changed when I say breather, air filter. The air filters are changed so they breathe better. They have more airflow. You'll see People have heavy breathers, which are the cone-shaped ones, or they may have a breather that's more nostalgic, which keeps the original, for instance, circular air filter, but the innards have changed. They have the like K and N style, more heavy breathing filter. So you've got more air going through. So to complete that, they do different fuelers, different fuel packs. So the fueling is adjusted with the ECU. So you've got this balance of air fuel ratio, and you've got the more quicker outlet of the gases. So you have a complete stage 1 tuning. Gives you the noise that people grin at. It gives you a crisper throttle response, and it gives you some more horsepower. So that's stage 1. And then people may go on to stage 2, which is generally cams. So they change their cams in their engine, which allows them to change their sort of torque curve. So there's different cams where you may have a cam that the power comes in at the lower end of the bike. So when you, like, for instance, if you I have to be careful how I say this, I guess. Can't say if you were racing for the traffic lights, because obviously you wouldn't be doing that. If you were on a drag strip in a controlled environment, then it would give you more power from the acceleration, from pulling the throttle open. And then there's cams where you can have the power curve come in later, so you'll get the power peak at a certain RPM, higher lift cams, etc. So that's stage 2 is cams. Stage 3 is when you change your cylinder pots, if you like, and your pistons. So you've got bigger cubic capacity. So you've got a bigger cylinder and bigger piston. So that's stage 3. So you could go up from, 80, you go up to 114 cubic inch to 117 cubic inch. Harley-Davidson do 131 cubic inch now, which is huge, and they brought that out this year. So that's stage 3, cylinders and pistons. Stage 4 is when you do the heads as well. So you change your heads complete. So you've got the more polished ports, the bigger valves, the more efficient flowing high flow heads. So stage 4 would be heads, pistons, cylinders, cams, air filter, fueler, and pipes. So that'd be stage 4. And you'll be lighter yourself, because your wallet would be much lighter from the experience. So you've got all these Screaming Eagle products that Harley-Davidson do that have been around for forever. And people love it. It could, back in the carburetor days, you would change your Mikuni carb to a bigger 44 millimeter carb that I did on an old 95. So you'd have this big throttle suck, and then you change your coils. You can change your HT leads. You can get Screaming Eagle higher performance spark plugs. So yeah, I mean, it's fun. Tuning is fun, so if it's customizing or tuning, it's still personal to you. You can have a 131 cubic inch Softail Lowrider S, which is quite a mid-sized bike. It's not huge. It's quite a naked bike, but with 131 cubic inches, it's going to be like, you've got to be prepared. It's going to be like riding a stallion that's been stung by a scorpion. And just bolts away. It's good. It's good fun. Yeah.
If you just thinking, trying to get some perspective now. So just thinking of a standard bike you bought with no adaptations. Let's say that is classed as 100 points. If you're going to go to stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, go up to the scale, would it go to from 100 to 110, ultimately to 150, or how would you give that understanding to people of what those stage jumps are in performance?
In performance, that's difficult, really. I mean, I think the people, if you go to stage 4, it's people who are really sort of performance orientated in their mind. I mean, I guess there's two. There's people who really are, focused on the engineering and performance side, and study the power curves, and and the stage 3 might be a little bit quicker on this curve at this RPM than stage 4, and then you'll get the clients who just like stage 4. It's like having a 5-liter Mustang.
Right.
Why wouldn't you? Why would you have the lower CC Mustang when there's a 5-liter available? It can be like that. Why have one turbo when there's a bi-turbo Mercedes available?
Yeah.
It's there are bragging rights, I think, and I could be caught up in that quite easily myself. And there are the ones that are kind of like the techno kind of engine junkies who want to do it. But I mean, the investment and points gain is all down to, I guess, how much it's a different thing in Harley. I think it's because it's yours and it's personal. It kind of like it's an investment into making your bike totally yours, and it's got the you've invested time researching, and you've changed the cams, and you went for these ones to that one. It's this addiction sort of thing. It's I guess it's like tattoos and ink. You start with a little tattoo, don't you? And suddenly you've got a sleeve, and half of it's going around your neck. It's addiction in a way.
Yeah.
Customizing, I think, and performance are addictive. Because customizing, what is customizing? Customizing to some is changing their grips and their pegs to match, which is custom. It's in the custom catalog. And then customizing to others is going for a 300 in the back end, and taking the bike down to the frame, and not only doing that, doing the biggest engine you can do. But if you're spending 60 grand or you're spending, far less, you're still getting the same buzz, aren't you? Because it's all relative to where you're at in life, I guess, and what pleases you. Yeah. So it is hard to sort of put it in a point scoring system, because it's just down purely to the individual and what their expectations are of someone. I mean, no one's going to really get the true power out of a 131 stage 4 engine unless they're a pro. It's there. You can blast easier past traffic if you're in a rush. But it's it's a good question. It's really hard to sort of answer that, and I think hopefully I've fumbled my way through it, and there is a little bit of sense there. I've been in this world so long, I kind of like, I know what I mean.
I understand, mate. That's good. No, thanks for that. That's really good. We mentioned obviously customization. I'll delve a little bit deeper into that. Obviously, some of the bikes you see out there, I've seen, have got some pretty amazing paintwork. Just trying to say, you guys do a hell of a lot of customization, and paintwork is very individual. So how do you try and turn people's dreams of what their bike should look like into reality? Let's start on the paint. Do you have a custom paint shop, or do you work with specialists in the area, or how do you work on that?
We've worked for probably 15 years with a paint company in Camberley called Image Design Custom, and Tom Fuller and his team are really good. Obviously, it always takes time to get a really good team together, because you want the experience and you want the inspiration and the imagination that you need in paint. So we've worked with them. They're very well known. We've sort of grown with them in a way, and they've grown like suddenly like your daughter looking you in the eyes, to a level quicker than you expected at working with big brands. So they work with Red Bull, Monster. I mean, they do all the Red Bull athletes' helmets. Every Red Bull athlete, from a downhill ski jumper to a motocrosser to a mountain biker to a supboard athlete, you name it, they do their helmets, because those Red Bull helmets are all painted individually. They're not mass produced. They're all one-offs. Each one is different, themed to that individual athlete. So they do really good, contracts with big companies like that. But we've grown up with them, and I guess we grew with them in a way that we tested their skills from day one, and then they sort of progressed further than they were thinking they would be, because of the challenges that they were given. So we'd start off with you say you came in and you wanted a custom Softail You kind of got it in your mind at what you want. It's kind of like, right. I've dealt with some foreign clients before, from Angola to Australia to America, and a lot of them are done by email. It was rare that you do a Zoom call. I mean, Zoom and Teams and all that are really 2020 stuff, aren't they? I mean, we had FaceTime before, but this is sort of natural now to get with people and talk to them on these apps. So I ran this. Well, I'm a big part of the Speed Shop from 2010, when we really sort of went on the map, because we won the World Championships in Sturgis for custom bike building. And that was a big accolade, because it was the first time a dealer won it, the first time anyone from Europe won it. It was massive for us. And then we got a lot of people come and ask us questions. And for instance, this guy from Angola wanted a bike, and I have to ask him many, many, many questions without being too intrusive, but needing to know. Yeah. So if I was building a bike for someone remotely, I need to know what kind of personality they are. I need to know if they're flamboyant, if they're modest, if they're a show off, if they're like to be noticed, or if they're more subtle. What they're sort of what they wear on their wrist, what they wear on their backs. It's kind of like if they're more Prada than George. It's kind of like you have to ask all these questions to understand who you're building this bike for, because it's no good building a very James Bond-ish, understated but very, very classy bike for someone who wants it to shout out standing still, based on color or based on size of wheels or based on chrome or lighting or whatever. So it's really important that the questions are asked again. This is like selling in a showroom, but this is another level. This is really personal. Because what you don't want is that bike to arrive and they go, it's a lovely bike, but it's not me. That's happened once out of 200 builds. I built a bike for a Swiss guy, and he wanted Ferrari inspired. So to me, Ferrari inspired is a bike that doesn't have Ferrari all over it, isn't obvious, but has elements that if you know Ferrari, you would recognize. You think, oh my God, that's like a Scaglietti or whatever. These elements would be noticeable for those people in that arena, plus him, sort of thing. So we built this bike, and it went to Switzerland, and I was on holiday, and he phoned me up. He said, Steve, he said, I've got it didn't go to Switzerland, sorry, it was still with us. We sent him a WeTransfer album, video, etc. of the bike. And he phoned me up and he said, Steve, I love the bike, but it's not me. And I went, how do you mean? And I said, it's got this, and it's in the colors that you like. He said, it doesn't shout out enough, right? And I said, okay, send me some examples. What you mean? And he said, oh yeah. And he sent me these pictures, and it took my breath, because it was kind of like so obvious, and not being rude. It was so tacky, but that's what he wanted. So I'd missed those questions. So we did what you would hope would be done. We repainted and refabricated the bike so it had obvious inspirations from Harley, but to a tacky level, in my opinion. To him it was perfect, but to me it wasn't as I thought it should be. So I was putting too much of me into it, or didn't advise enough along the way. So people make mistakes, but you put them right. But yeah, that was one of the ones that didn't go 100%, but we got around it, and we did it, and it got delivered, and now it's all happy, and it's all good. And I think you have to make these mistakes to learn from, and you have to be humble and put your hand up and say, okay, that's my fault, because I should have asked a few more. I should have got a few more pictures, because we like to get mood boards from customers. Send us anything that inspires you. It can be architecture, fashion, a watch face, a handbag, whatever color, design, and you can soon tell by a mood board how detailed that person is. You know, if it's the guy who wants like the Ferraris all over his bike, or it's the guy or girl or whatever who likes the detail, be it I like the way they put this buckle with this strap and all this sort of thing. And you can learn from that. And it's a real test, and it's a real responsibility, because they are putting all their trust in you. We don't have CAD design. We're hoping to progress to that one day where we can lay out a bike that your bike will look like once it's finished. I mean, we worked with Roland Sands Design, and in America, and he did a beautiful picture of a bike, because we did a collaboration project with him, and our bike was that picture when it finished, which was really cool. I love that, the way we replicated the bike from the original thoughts and inspiration for the picture. But we haven't got those tools to do that, so it's all been, I'm leaving it with you, I trust you, and being open with people and say, actually, you wanted dragons all over it, don't think it's going to work, but if that's what you want, then we'll work on that. Because I'm always thinking ahead as well. I'm always thinking of residual value for them as well. I don't want people to invest a huge amount of money into a custom bike and then say, look, I'd like a project, I want you to sell this, and then having a problem. All our speed and custom bikes have been very resellable, if they've come back in to stock. So I think that's always on the forefront of my mind as well.
Yeah. I guess you've got to have this massive catalogue in your head of what's available as well, because that used to be like an Encyclopedia Britannica from memory of all the different options.
Yeah.
Is that still the same? Is that all online now rather than the books?
They have brought out books today. We're just talking about this today because we had a bike that came in, because we're doing a lot more sort of classic Harleys or future classic Harleys. So we're buying early twin cams, because the twin cam, we mentioned it earlier, people maybe moving forward to a more who've had a twin cam. I'm talking about twin cams now, because twin cams to me are future classics, especially like early twin cams. I say early as in like 2000 plus. So we've been like buying and looking at models that are quite rare. Springer Crossbones, Fat Boys. I bought a bike called a Moo Glide the other day, which is a 94, 95, and it's got a cowhide seat. And what we're building as well, not only doing the speed and custom shop, is having kind of like a classic corner. So, we're talking 10, 11 grand Fat Boys on a 2005, 15 years old, but we refurbish them in-house with our custom skills. So they are back to factory standard. That's what I want to do. So if a bike comes in like a Crossbones, I bought two Crossbones the other day, one owner bikes, but slightly neglected, changed around a bit, different pipes, as in short ones that don't really match that whole nostalgic thing. So we've been refurbishing this. So anything that needs doing, we've been doing. So come 2021, we will have I think a whole host of future classics that have been done by Sykes. So that to me is factory spec with Harley-Davidson accessories. I know you mentioned the Harley-Davidson book. It's super thick, and I went off on the curve then because you said about the book. They brought the book out in 2020, so we've had it all year. We've also had a brochure, but I think looking at manufacturers and Harley, I think they may. This is my own opinion. This isn't from anywhere but my own head. I think they might go online, like you say, with the accessory catalogs. I think they might go online with the future brochures. You can always look at bikes online. People do like brochures. I like brochures. We had a 2008 brochure arrived, and it's that thick of just the bikes. It's I think it's part of the prestige of Harley to have a nice brochure. But I think that may be a thing of the past. But I do like the brochures. So the catalog is one to get your head around. But when you go into the next level of customization with a speed and custom shop, there's many more catalogs as thick as the Bible of Harley-Davidson accessories. And then there's fabricated stuff. Like we've got some talented guys in our workshop that would fabricate a rear fender, will machine parts that we can engineer onto a bike to make it look different. be functional but different. I mean, Neil Sefton, who's one of our very talented head customizers down there, we did a bike called a Flatliner once, and it had a leaf spring seat, so it's like a floating seat, and that was based on a twin cam model at the time. So yeah, they're clever guys. I'm lucky to have a team. Obviously, like, it does take time to get the right team together, but we're in a good place with everyone we've got in the workshop.
Yeah. One of the things you mentioned, and this is a contentious point on a race here, but noise. And that's something that it comes up in the press a lot, and we all know about the loud pipe save lives kind of stuff. And that seems to be changing. The regulations are changing around Europe. Now, obviously, as Harley riders, we're going to cover country to country to country going on our tours. Can you give us a quick snapshot of where you think this is going, and how you can make sure that you try and stay within the rules as you're going from each country to country?
Yeah, I mean, it's one that's been talked about since I joined Harley-Davidson, basically. So in 2002, when we were sort of prepping to open the doors, the loud pipe conversation was one back then that the motor company and other authorities would say there'd be no more loud pipes. And manufacturers like Vance and Hines, who not only do Harley pipes, they do pipes at all other manufacturers, and then you've got the pipes that are made for the sports bike market and everything, obviously nibbled their nails and still are from back then to where we are now. So like 18 years later, there's still loud pipes going on bikes. Like you say, loud pipes save lives. We've seen the badges, and people do hear a bike coming up the road, but there is that element of noise pollution and invasion of people's noise levels that has to be thought of. I mean, the Harley-Davidson Screaming Eagle pipes that they build for the Milwaukee 8 and for the Tourers enhance the sound of it, enhance the sort of the tone of the motor, but they're not ear bleedingly loud. You can purchase the louder pipes, but they are technically not street legal unless it's written on the pipe sort of thing. But I don't think these things continue to be fitted to bikes around, and I don't know. It's a question I can't really answer about where it's going, because I've expected it to go somewhere in all these years, and it hasn't. I don't know if it's too hard to police what the bikes would come. I mean, like you say, Germany and Europe and things, they're very restrictive on customizing and on what you've got fitted to your bike, be it a set of pipes, a set of wheels, a set of handlebars. You have to have certificates for everything that you've changed on your bike that's been approved. I think we do get away with quite a lot on the custom scene in the UK, and still in areas of Europe, but Switzerland and Germany are very tight on it. I think as you see, sort of, you can like, at the moment, we talked about this the other day, you can tap your bike details into like city noise pollution elements, and it will say your bike's okay, but it doesn't say have you changed your pipes. It just recognizes that the Harley-Davidson Ultra Glide that you're on is technically okay to ride through the city. I don't think it does any more drop downs on have you changed your pipes and your cams and this, that, and the other. It's just stock, quite rightly, from when it's come in and being imported. It does meet all the boundaries that they need to. So an ongoing conversation. What do you think of loud pipes?
Well, personally, obviously, it gives a bit of character. I enjoy it to a degree. There are some noises. I guess each person's got their own preference. That some sound blooming awful, some sound fantastic. It really down to the individual.
I agree. I think if you've got a nice,
so my concern is, if I want to head down to south of France, if I'm just staying in France, I understand the regs in France, that's great. If I'm going from country to country, it's okay here, but I go 2 miles and cross the border and it's not okay there.
Yeah.
That's my only concern. So I think it's
Yeah, I think there's food for thought, of
yeah,
touring. If
yeah,
you're definitely touring, then you need to check out
yeah.
what
Do your
you're
homework.
riding, and yeah, I mean, it's not the biggest deal to change a bike for a big tour, is it?
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm with you. I like I don't think I'm 51 years old now. I don't like. I'm not saying I'm old. I'm 51 years young, should I say? And I don't like the bikes that sound like they've just removed the pipes. I
yeah,
think it just sounds awful. I
mm,
like a nice potato sound.
mm,
I prefer a slip on to a sort of sawn off shotgun style.
yeah,
I like the originality of a louder pipe, which isn't too intrusive. So
yeah,
it's quite endearing of the motorcycle.
yeah, yeah. You mentioned the competitions and the accolades that Sykes have won now, and the team. Just thinking about how can you put together a bike from scratch for something like the Battle of the Kings? What's your um, ability? How do you manage to do it? You keep winning, guys. Come on, you keep doing really well in these competitions. So what gives you the edge?
Um, I guess because we've built a lot of custom bikes, we kind of have a gauge of what people like. If it's retro style or street style, or um, we've kind of got feedback through the years, and then I think we dare to be different. We did a bike called the Beach Bobber that won the UK and went through to the final European final, I think, and came second. But the Beach Bobber was a Harley-Davidson Sportster with a Triumph tank that we put onto it, and it was in a baby blue, and it had flowers on it, like a Hawaiian kind of surf theme, if you want. So it had flowers on the tank. It was baby blue, and it had 16-inch wheels with excessively chunky white wall tires, and we did the rims white as well. So it looked like an extension of rim or tire, if you like. It looked like Noddy Goes to Toy Town meets Scooby Doo meets Harley Davidson. Now, I think because we're not too serious about ourselves, because in the custom world, I always think there's, there are cliches in the custom world where, you know, teams wear their caps down low, they're fully inked up, they've got the pit jackets and the chains around, they've just got this image which all this sort of Jesse James kind of custom feel, and that's their lifestyle, which I respect, and their image and the way they do their bikes. They need to be tough and mean, and it's a extension of their own personality. Where we're a bit more, I guess, light-hearted, a mix of totally individual people. So we'll have Neil, who builds retro mountain bikes and talk about really like 80s 90s sort of thing, and drives a couple of slammed Volvos with Porsche Cup alloy wheels on and handmade stainless steel exhausts, and he's a little eccentric in that way. And then we've got guys who work on in their own time, enthusiasts in a sort of shovel and knuckle motor world of patinaed old school bikes. And then we've got cyclists that like myself who are into deep carbon rims, lightweight monocoque frames, and all that sort of technology stuff. And I think when we mix it all into one big mixing bowl, it creates really good sort of chemistry and comes out with some imagination and like that daring to be different attitude. So this beach bobber that we built just was the business. It was risky because it's a Harley with flowers on, big balloon tires, and it had an element of toy to it. It looked like a toy. But that bike actually ended up being brought by Envy Augusta, and the owner of Envy Augusta bought that bike, and it's in his office in Milan.
Wow,
So
amazing.
I think that's where we've been lucky we've always liked a challenge. We're very competitive as well, and it's that dare to be different attitude and sort of go for it and try and not just do what is expected, go beyond that. So yeah, we have fun doing it, and it's a test every time. Yeah, and it's we did one called the mustard, and that was in a Porsche Singer yellow, which was a really strong color to do it in, and we had these pie crust tires on it, like real old hot rod tires, and basically we just extended the rim with these moon-eyed rim extensions, and we used a stock rim from the 48 and then just did these extensions on and then painted them like you would see on a racing push bike, like when they have the carbon wheels with Campagnolo around or whatever, and it worked perfectly. So we are inspired by other sort of elements, like I said about architecture or fashion. If you've got your eyes open, you can bring these elements in and mix them up, and I think that gives you an advantage if you know what else is out there and are interested in other stuff as well. You pull from it, borrow ideas and just mix it up with Harley, which can be unique.
Yeah. Well, look at the time. I know you're obviously pretty busy. I've got two more questions for you, if that's okay. First one, obviously, one of the things that Harley is famous for is the culture, the hog membership, and also our own chapter membership, 1066. What can you say about that? What makes that so special, do you say, as opposed to other types of motorcycle groups?
That's it's a really interesting question, and I talk to customers, and they're new into the store, and I try and explain that it's more than the motorcycle. There's this lifestyle to it, and again, it sounds a bit cliche, and but the fact is, it's true. You buy a Harley, you join a chapter bit. A chapter, for everyone who doesn't know, is a club that it evolves from a dealership. So us at Sykes Harley-Davidson, we have a chapter called 1066, and if you go to Maidstone or Guildford, they have their own chapters with their dealership. So without a dealership, there is no chapters. We've got 500 members of our chapter, and the chapter is a really kind of very social place. Not only do they do rides that will take you to different places, and they're very well organized. There's road crews and road captains that organize rides out, and there's meetings that people meet at the dealership and they go for a ride, and they may visit a castle one day, they may visit a World War II bunker, they may go to Normandy, they may go to Portugal. I mean, we've had 40 riders go to the USA and do Death Valley, or do the big Florida Keys ride and stuff like that. And not only do they do the rides that you would expect, but they also, there's parties. There's Christmas parties, there's kickoffs for the season, there's end of season parties, there's club nights here near us at Chiddingly, just around the corner. There's a club night second Thursday every month. So you get a nice spring summer evening, and you have 50 Harleys in the car park, and people just sharing a passion between themselves. I'm not sure how Harley have managed to nail it and win it, because I know other manufacturers would love to do it, but they haven't managed to do it. I don't know why. I think it's maybe because of the history of Harley-Davidson and that sort of that brotherhood. It's kind of like the seeds has sown, always been there. So there are expectations of that, but it is quite unique to Harley-Davidson to have this hog. I mean, when I went to, not going back to that, but going back to Milwaukee and the 115th anniversary, unbelievable how many riders and how many passionate Harley-Davidson people there were. And I said to my colleague Gary, there is no other brand in the world that could get so many people together in one place. And I'm telling you, Milwaukee's the home of Harley anyway. But you just go around the city, and it's like that evening there's dirt track riding, there's racing, which is a packed stadium. There's beach racing and a beach hangout at the Veterans Park, which is 10 blocks that way by the lake, and that is packed. And then you go to the Milwaukee Harley-Davidson Museum, same evening, and that is packed. And then the streets are packed, outside the hotels are packed, lines and lines of Harleys, people laughing, people sharing stories. You go into a bar, it's packed, all with Harley-Davidson gear on. There is no other brand that can do that. I mean, it is very unique, and it is I think a really strong part of it. And it's something I think that Harley-Davidson are realizing that core of people are really, again, the future of the brand. They've done outreach programs. They try to compete in different marketplaces and build bikes in India on a different CC just to maybe prop up the numbers. But I think they're realizing now that it's the passion, it's the luxury in a way, which goes in another form of why, but it's the desire, it's the ownership. There's so many elements to why Harley-Davidson. Like I said, if you pick a bike with your heart and it works and it fits and it does what you want it to do, then just owning that motorcycle makes you buzz, even if work's too busy for you to use it. Commitments are you too busy to use it. You've still got a Harley in your garage. You've made it.
Yeah, nice one. Okay, one last question then, mate. 2021. What should we be getting excited about? What's going on in the dealership? Anything exciting to tell us about?
2021. It's where we've been and this year, and hopefully things are going to clear the way again for more. Definitely. I mean, this year was about, for us, this year was about events. This year was about special evenings at Sykes with extended hours and a bike meet night for all bikes. We had Eastbourne Bike Night that's very successful. That obviously had to stop. We were going to do bike nights here, which would be, I guess, maybe on a Wednesday. That was going to be extended hours, demo rides for all those people that can't get down at weekends because they work, like myself. If you're free on a Wednesday, they could come down, ride down on their other mate's bike and take out a Fat Bob or a Fat Boy and just enjoy it. No pressure environment, food, just that chill zone. And then we're going to do a themed Saturday every week. So it was going to be Fat Boy Saturday, where anyone with a Fat Boy come in, and we'd have Fat Boy parking. So if you were new to the brand and you came in on a Fat Boy Saturday and you saw 30 Fat Boys lined up, I think that's going to be pretty cool. That could be the same with V-Rods, with Sportster Saturdays, anniversary bikes. I mean, I'm big into anniversary bikes. So if you've got an anniversary bike, ride in, parked up, and it's just, I'm going to go to that, go dig my anniversary bike out, because people have more than one bike. And they roll in on a 2003 anniversary, Harley-Davidson Heritage, park it up with the others. It was all about doing that and having fun. And we've done Fun Day Sundays before, which is we don't normally open on a Sunday, so we decided when we are going to be open, we're going to be proper open. So we'd have friends of Sykes here. So we'd have people who are might specialize in Volkswagen T6s or Mustangs or Monster Energy drink, barbershop, nail bar, food, and just have this buzz about the dealership. So you come in on a Fun Day Sunday and it's different from it just being like a extension of a Saturday. There's stuff happening. So our energy was all about that. And then obviously March, switch went off and we couldn't do any of that. So we've got a lot of burning desire to do things as much as we can in the future, wherever we go, listen and run along with guidelines, but hopefully we will get back to a nearer norm in the future. You can only be positive, because we want concerts to be on again, don't we? We want to be able to go and hang out in restaurants and bars without looking, and look at people's smiles. We all want that. So hopefully that will come back and we will sort of re-energize. I mean, we've had a good year despite what's gone on. We're still doing our best we can to finish the year. But that's despite. So I can only think, if you can have a good year with this, then imagine what it's like without all these restrictions. We'd be flying. So I'm positive about the future. I think with the brand itself, I think it will be. I know there'll be a less of a production of the bikes. I think they're going to produce 30% less Harleys globally, which is quite a big thing. I think it's so the company can sort of revive the luxury and desire with the motorcycles, because a lot of manufacturers set out to market, and there's rows and rows of bikes that are all the same, and you can get one on 0%, and it's one of many. And I think Harley want to have one of a few, have that sort of limited appeal, creates more desire. So I can see the used bike market being sort of a premium area as well, where the bikes are going to be unique, achievable, and I think they'll be at the forefront of people's minds if they can't get hold of what they want to do. So I'm saying, if you come into Sykes and we say, we can get you one, put your deposit down, it's not a case of being a hard closer. It's being a case of being, if you don't, then you may be looking deep into the summer before you get one. And let's face it, motorcyclists season kicks off in March, really. You get the new plates out in March, and the weather changes a little bit better. And if you've got a bike March, April time, you can use it all the way through. No one wants to take ownership really of a bike when you're biting into near the autumn. You want to make the most, especially with the English weather. So it's gonna. I think it's gonna be challenging on you to be able to deliver. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating, not only for a customer but for a dealer like ourselves, not being able to get you the bike you want. This year now, if you walked in and you want a black fat boy now, you want a breakout, there's no bikes around now. They've sold out, like many industries. They've sold through because of COVID and because of production and stuff. And everyone's on the catch up. So another reason why there's probably going to be less next year. But we're positive. We always keep a really good stock of used bikes as well. And like I said, we're looking at the classic corner, which I'm very passionate about. So I'm looking positively towards 2021 being a year that we can really party and appreciate it. Every time you party, it's going to be, that was really good. I'm not going to take that for granted.
Not anymore. No, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, Steve. So if people want to pop into Sykes, whereabouts are you? What website do you have? Where's the social media stuff?
Our website is www.sykeshd.com. We've got Instagram, which is Sykes Harley-Davidson, Facebook as well. Come and see us. We're on the A22. We're at Holmes Hill, which is probably about, I'd say, 20 minutes from Brighton, about 10 minutes from Eastbourne, and on the main road that leads all the way up to sort of East Grinstead, Tunbridge Wells way. So come and see us. Just breeze in when we're allowed. So have a look, and and just start there really, and get start the seed. Plant the seed. Yeah.
Brilliant, Steve. That's really great. Thanks for all that information. I found it really useful.
Sorry if I waffle. That's part of my
no worries, mate. No, that's brilliant. So I think people are going to get a lot from this podcast. So thanks again for your time. I know you put a lot of effort in, and hopefully you've enjoyed it too, mate.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, like I say, if I've waffled on, then apologies to all those who are listening. But hopefully, like you say, people will get something out of this. And I'm happy to give anyone a tour of our dealership and the sales team alike if they want to just make a visit and see what Harley-Davidson is about.
Brilliant. Thanks, then, mate. Take care. See you soon.
Thank you.
Cheers,
yeah, will do.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please subscribe and leave a positive review if you can spare a minute or two. If you would like to contact me, my email address is david@thereallifebuyer.co.uk, or find me at Real Life Buyer on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, where you're welcome to direct message me. I look forward to you joining me on future episodes. Take care, and remember, save money and buy smart.